protein in a serving of broccoli. And there's more vitamin C in an orange. You get many more nutrients just eating one of those apples over there than you would taking your shot of wheatgrass. Certainly my personal anecdotal experience with it from yesterday was not a happy one. I had an unpleasant gastrointestinal reaction to my dose of wheatgrass.
I like my food to be nutritious, but I also want it to taste good. So if it does not taste good, it better be a lot more nutritious than other good tasting food for me to live on this thing.
You know, in addition to the nutritional claims that are made for wheatgrass, there are many proponents and users who think that it actually contains life energy like qi.
I grew up in a culture where the word qi is thrown around in everyday conversation. It's like everybody knows what qi is. And when I ask and to find out what they're talking about, the explanation I get is from energy to air to like some kind of aura. So maybe if I try this wheatgrass and give me some qi, I'll finally understand what qi really is.
Well, we've tried it. I think, you know, maybe it's time that you guys should try it.
Now, John took like a big handful, so I'm just gonna whack off a handful here. Fire that puppy up.
Turn it around.
His fingers are over there.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the life. Wow, it sounds so yummy.
I'm hungry already.
It smells like when I was 15 and having to do my chores in the summer.
See, you gotta really ram it in there.
You broke it.
You gotta really jam it in there.
For your blood pressure at this point.
There we go. All right, are we ready to do it?
You gotta keep it in your mouth.
You're supposed to swish it around a little bit.
Keep it in your mouth, switch it around.
I've eaten a lot of things, but this is not what I will eat voluntarily.
But your teeth are a lovely shade of green now.
Do you feel the qi?
I feel nothing except a bad taste in my mouth.
Here we go.
Make it disappear.
Now slowly, keep it in your mouth and swish it around. Don't gulp it. And let it go down slowly.
Should I stand back?
She's gonna blow.
I don't know. I don't know.
Kind of like,
Where's the acid in this bag?
I'm not completely against, and I don't think I would go out of my way to have this every morning or anything.
I kind of like yesterday's better.
Is that right?
It has a little bit more of a bite than yesterday. Yesterday's is slightly sweeter. What do you think? Come on.
For science.
I would rather lick a squirrel's armpit than drink this right now.
Well, hey, Brian, your turn. Today's your lucky day.
No, thank you. I'm not going to drink any of that stuff, but I do have a couple of questions for you guys. People that I know who drink it, they do say it makes them feel better. So what's the problem?
The biggest harm is probably when people rely upon this because they think it's going to cure their cancer, or even they claim it treats diabetes. So if you're drinking wheatgrass instead of taking your diabetes medication, or instead of seeing a physician or a specialist for your problem, then that could delay proper treatment and there could be very, very real harm. Probably the only risk of direct harm is for those who do take wheatgrass rectally. And they do it via an enema, and that, that can introduce infections, can, cause to puncture a small hole in the bowel, for example.
At least that way you don't have to taste it.
True.
So does it have any benefits for sick people?
One of the biggest claims in terms of treating an illness is that it detoxifies the body. And we looked into that very carefully too. And in fact, it doesn't have any property or any effect that could be called detoxifying. Wheatgrass or no other supplement or thing that you eat that I'm aware of helps the body do that. There's zero scientific evidence to support that.
Well, what is a better way to get my daily nutrition?
Thumbtacks or asbestos or a kitchen sponge or perhaps gravel, anything but this.
Just eat a well-balanced, well-rounded diet. Certainly lots of fruits and vegetables.
I mean, we've spent 10,000 years domesticating certain plants and animals that we can eat and digest. This isn't one of them.
Coming up next, the Skeptologists take their own critical look at the scientific instruments used in ghost hunting.
Spirits, will you give us a sign? Reach across the ethereal path and let us know you are here. Let my words go forth to you, Jackie. We are waiting. Patience. Yes. The spirits spoken. Good job, Mark. Yeah. That's pretty good. So what I have here is a tool that I use to work with an audience in a seance situation, but it uses science in a different form than the tools that we saw that the ghost hunters use, but it has the same effect on an audience.
If you remember, every time we started doing something, the paranormal investigators would prime us for it.
If anyone here does feel something weird, if you feel stuck to the ground, if you feel heavy pressure, if you feel, cold on the back of your neck, tingly sensations, something that's out of the ordinary where you have to sit and go, wait, what is this? Don't be afraid to speak up.
People have felt they've been pushed or they lose balance, get dizzy. And so to prime the person like that is combining your tools
The emotion.
of suggestion and emotion
Yeah, absolutely.
with the scientific tools.
Yeah.
So combining all of this, you are absolutely setting somebody right up to see ghosts everywhere.
So Mark, perhaps inadvertently though, it seems like they're doing something very similar to what you're doing.
Suggestion, working with people's emotions. Yeah, as soon as somebody says, you may feel nauseous, and then you start going, oh man, I don't feel too good,
We see the evidence of these spirits as being visible light, thermal, infrared light, electromagnetic energy. All of these can be detected. And so if these things were out there, I would say that these tools should be able to detect them if these things behave the way the investigators say they do.
All right, yeah, man, what the heck is a cell sensor?
This is a probe that measures magnetic field. The investigators were trying to make the claim that here's a tool that measures electromagnetic field. Primary feature of the electromagnetic field is that it comes in waves, it has cycles. For you to measure any electromagnetic field, you need to know what the frequency you're trying to measure. Now, the most common electromagnetic field detector we are all very familiar with is your radio. When you're trying to listen to a radio station, you're tuned to a particular frequency. So some radio stations that are broadcasting at 88.1 megahertz, you tune this radio. So you're actually setting your detector to a particular frequency. Electromagnetic frequencies comes in low frequencies, in the hundreds of cycles per second, usually referred to as hertz, or in thousands of cycles per second, kilohertz, or millions of cycles per second, megahertz, or even gigahertz, billions of cycles per second. You cannot just have a tool and say, I'm measuring electromagnetic energy. Unless you know what you're measuring, you don't have the tool to measure it. I have a little magnet here. When this meter blinks, it's measuring moving magnetic field, right? So you can see when I come. But if I just set it down here, it's gone. Because I'm not moving. I'm not changing magnetic field. As soon as I change it, it will show up.
As they're standing there and they're moving around, if there's just a static, unchanging magnetic field, and we're standing in all this metal inside the hull of this enormous ship, as soon as they move that detector, if they do it over the magnetic field, they get a reading, even though it's just something sitting there. So if the spirit is flowing or there's energy in it, it could just be a little bit of magnetism in the wall that's doing that.
So what would you say the range is, the maximum range?
The range that they show me, it's probably a few inches, right? It won't be very far. With the detector they showed us, they have to be right up against that magnetic field. I mean, it's like right into it. Well, one of the investigators said that one of the tools they use is a compass.
We held it within our hand in our own energy fields, walking around through something, and documented a change in the direction.
So I have a compass here. Indeed, the compass is a very simple tool for measuring moving magnetic fields.
Well, it turns out you can move a compass not just with a magnet, but with something like iron, something that attracts a magnet. We have the candelabra, and that's made of iron, and you can do that as well. And so when we were in the bottom of that ship yesterday, we're surrounded by iron. And so if they were walking around, if they got closer to one piece of iron than another, this compass is going to spin around.
The next tool I think that they discussed was just a temperature gauge.
Like any other tools that you use, you need to know what it's good for and what it's actually measuring. This little thermometer, it's good from minus 10 degrees or so all the way to about 150, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. It turned out that these thermometers, even though they can measure remote temperatures, they do not have a very great range. For example, this little one only have about a 3 or 4 inch range. If you go beyond that, you don't know what it's measuring. I mean, the reading is meaningless.
Now, of course, on those paranormal investigation TV shows, they always find some signal or something that they can't fully explain or rule out.
Well, if they're using EMF field meters like this as their detectors, they have no idea where the electromagnetic energy is coming from.
Yeah, right. And on those TV shows, you know, they're only going to show you what they want you to see. You never know what's right outside the frame that's going to interfere with the signal.
And cut. Very nice.
The
was a very
Skeptologists have disposed of the first 3 most common ghost hunting tools. But what about their claimed holy grail of paranormal detection devices?
The thermal imaging camera on loan from NASA that is designed specifically to detect the infrared light given off by warm or cold objects.
Dan, the paranormal investigator, said that he could detect free-floating hot and cold spots.
These devices, when used before in paranormal investigations, have documented free-floating cold spots, temperature changes in ambient that are moving, some seem to have silhouettes walking.
Would this kind of equipment do that?
Well, you know what? We can probably set up an experiment to see if we can detect intermediate hot and cold spots between us and some more distant object. Now that is frozen carbon dioxide at minus 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can see the thermal camera sees it like a black hole. It's emitting very little heat. And we see the wall behind it, the wall's at room temperature. Michael, can you actually get us a good reading on that?
Yep.
And I'll focus on you there.
All right, 74, 73.9, 74. Let's just call
74
it
is good
74
enough.
degrees.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and put your hand up there. Now watch this, okay? And we can see his handprint, it's fading away, but we can see that there is a hot spot on the wall there. Now, when I focus on, instead, the dry ice, we do see just a little bit of vapor dropping off of it. That's just basically condensed water vapor and carbon dioxide falling. But if I even look just a little bit lower, it is just gone. We see nothing at all. So we have this cold vapor dropping off, but it is invisible even to the thermal infrared camera. So if there is a spirit somewhere between us and the wall, creating a cold spot, we're just not going to see it.
And the only reason why you're seeing the vapor at all is because it's actually denser than the air. There is something physical there. If it were just cold air, totally invisible.
Well, let's try the same experiment again, but this time with a heat source.
Okay, there you go right there. And I can adjust the camera to, there we are.
Okay, so this is
130 degrees.
very hot right here. This is uncomfortably hot right here.
And in the infrared camera, we can see the heat right where Steve's hand is, but if I move even a little bit farther up, we see a little bit of background radiation from some of the pipes and all that, but we see very little of the heat.
This is still hot even though.
The flame's 190.
So up high, we've heated the air up significantly from 75 degrees up to maybe even 150 degrees this far up. So if there's a spirit between us and the wall again, and it's heating up the air, we're seeing nothing. I mean, this is a $50,000 NASA infrared camera. If we can't see it with this, then certainly any paranormal investigators aren't going to see any sort of heat with the equipment they're using.
Yeah, and it shows you how important it is not just to get findings, but to test your assumptions and your interpretations of those findings, and that's what we just did.
When you add in the non-scientific, the emotional impact of making suggestions about what people want to believe, then you have a very powerful package.
All right, well, it appears that the technologies or tools that the paranormal investigators are using are not going to be able to find paranormal phenomena like ghosts.
Hey, you guys, I've got some questions. What's wrong with the idea of going from reading an anomaly to concluding that it might be a ghost?
When you have an anomaly, that is just the beginning of the process. That's where you generate your scientific hypothesis.
The investigators are getting readings. You don't know what's causing those readings. How can you say that it's not a ghost?
We don't know that it's not a ghost, just as we don't know it's not an invisible pink unicorn.
What we're looking for is positive evidence in support of a claim or positive evidence to rule out everything else but that claim. And all we have so far with this is just a bunch of anomalous readings, most of which we can explain. And it's always okay in science to just say, I don't know yet.
So what are these scientific instruments giving us evidence of?
Very physical phenomena that most people, if they look at it a little bit more, will understand that it's just normal physical phenomena.
Yeah, I mean, they're measuring temperature and radiation, magnetic fields, and light, things that we understand, and occasionally noise. There's always noise in the signal and the data, and you can imagine whatever you want in that noise.
So, skeptologists, what did we find out? Tell me about wheatgrass juice.
You have to look at the history, the evidence, the logic to support a claim, and with wheatgrass, we just don't find any support for what people are saying.
Unless it tastes very good and much cheaper, I'd rather just take a couple of vitamin pills.
Well, I guess then green isn't always good.
It's not always good, and you have to know how to ask the right question. It's all about framing things correctly.
Okay, so what about looking for ghosts? Did we find any evidence by using these scientific instruments?
Let's just say I'm still skeptical.
It's not just enough to have fancy equipment. You have to know not only how to use it, but you have to use it to ask questions, to actually test what you're claiming. And I don't think that the paranormal investigators are doing that.
Unless you understand exactly what you are measuring, your measurement may not tell you what result you're looking for.
That's right. It's not just what you're looking for. You have to know what you're not looking for. What is it that's going to interfere with your observations, that's going to make you think you're seeing something that may not be there?
And you also have to watch out for your bias. Like you said, they're not trying to count things out.
You're going to see what you want to see. And I think that that is what we have experienced here.
Well, I think it all sort of ties together with where we're standing here in front of this telescope. Edwin Hubble didn't expect to do anything that groundbreaking, I think, when he was observing with this. But by knowing his equipment and understanding how this all worked and being able to analyze the data correctly, he discovered that the universe is expanding. Really, when you understand what you're doing and you're using the tools of science correctly, the whole universe is open for you.
Well, I guess that about wraps it up. Let's go on to our next task. Let's go.
All right, I'm ready.
Whoa, Brandon, what are you doing?
Oh, I hear this stuff is good for you.
Oh,